Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Aquarius. There seems to be a particular kind of silence that follows anger. It's not the noisy kind of silence. It's the kind of silence when people stop texting, stop asking questions, stop caring, stop trying to understand your story because they've already decided who you are. And lately, I think you've been sitting in that silence, wondering if it will last forever. So here's what we're doing today. This woman, whoever she is to you, an ex, a friend, someone from your past who still has a hook in your chest, she found out something. Something that changed the way she sees you. And instead of softening, she got furious. The kind of furious that curdles into something colder. She hates you more now than she did before. But here's the thing about anger that's sharp. It's rarely just about the facts. It's about judgment. And today, the cards are telling me that judgment is coming back around on her, not just on you. Before we pull a single card, let me say this clearly because I always do this reading, is general guidance meant for reflection and emotional clarity, not a prediction carved in stone. Energy is selective. It responds to what's true for you and skips what isn't. So take what resonates and quietly release what doesn't. Now, let's see what's actually sitting on this table. All right, the first card, Knight of Cups. Let's not waste time describing armor and horses, Aquarius. Let's talk about what actually matters to you right now, which is her, and why this got so ugly. The Knight of Cups tells me something specific about how this whole situation started. Before she found out, whatever it is she found out, you were the one carrying the emotional weight of this connection. You were the one showing up soft, showing up sincere, maybe even showing up more invested than you let people see. That's important because it means what she's furious about right now isn't matching the person you actually were in this. Here's what I think happened. She discovered something, a piece of information, a truth, maybe something someone else told her, or something she pieced together on her own. And instead of asking you about it, she built a story in her head. And once that story hardened into anger, it started attracting more anger. That's just how resentment works psychologically. Once someone decides you're the villain, every memory gets reinterpreted to fit that narrative, even the good ones. So when you say she hates you more now, more than before, I don't think it's because new evidence keeps appearing. I think it's because she's replaying old moments through a furious lens, and everything looks worse in that light. Here's something practical, just real life advice. When someone is that deep in anger, defending yourself right now won't land. Not yet. Timing matters more than being right. This card is telling me your intentions back then were not malicious, but intentions and impact are two different things. And today's judgment, the one coming in the next card, is going to test which one she's judging you by. Now, let's talk about what's really going on with her right now, because this is the card that explains her fury better than anything else in this spread. Four of Cups. Here's what I think happened after she found out. In the beginning, her anger was hot, reactive, maybe even loud. But time has passed since then. And what's left now isn't rage anymore, it's withdrawal. She's gone quiet in a way that feels worse than shouting. Because quiet like this usually means she's made a decision about you in her mind and stopped revisiting it. This is important, so listen closely. When someone hates you more over time instead of less, it's rarely because new evidence keeps showing up. It's because she stopped engaging with anything that might contradict the story she's already settled into. Every attempt you make to reach out probably feels, to her, like something she's already heard, already dismissed, already tired of. There's a real psychological pattern here worth naming. When people feel betrayed, they often enter a phase of emotional shutdown, not because they stopped feeling, but because feeling became exhausting. She may look unavailable, cold, uninterested in resolution, but underneath that, there's still unprocessed hurt sitting quietly, unaddressed. Something practical, not spiritual, just honest. right now is not the moment to explain yourself again. Repeating your side won't break through numbness. What actually shifts a person like this is time, and something arriving differently than before, not louder, just different. And that's exactly why I said this reading is called All Returns. Because what looks closed right now, what looks like permanent disinterest, this card is telling me it isn't the final chapter. Something about this situation is going to come back in a form neither of you expected. 8 of Swords. And this time, let's me skip past the usual explanation, because what you really want to know is one thing. Is she going to stay this angry, or is something about to change? Here's my honest read. This isn't the card of a woman who's settled into hating you forever. It's the card of a woman who's currently stuck in the loudest version of her own reaction, the version she hasn't questioned yet. And there's a difference between someone who has processed her feelings toward you and reached a final conclusion versus someone who's simply been repeating the same angry thought to herself so many times it started to feel like truth. I think that's her right now. What this tells me about the timeline is important. If this were a card about permanent closure, we'd be seeing something final, something settled, something with distance already built into it. This isn't that. This is a woman mid-spiral, not a woman who has finished deciding what I think is actually coming for you two. Not immediately, not tomorrow, but somewhere ahead in this reading, something interrupts that spiral. Maybe it's new information reaching her. Maybe it's her own exhaustion with staying furious. Something she witnesses that doesn't match the story she's been telling herself about who you are. And that matters because the title of this reading isn't just about judgment, it's about return. Something comes back, reconsiders. And this card is the proof that reconsideration is even possible right now, because a mind still spiraling is a mind that hasn't closed the door yet. Let me be careful here, because I won't pretend certainty where there isn't any. I'm not telling you she forgives you tomorrow. I'm telling you the door isn't sealed the way her silence makes it feel. Take that as steadiness, not a promise. Cards show tendencies, patterns, energy, and motion, not guarantees carved into your future. Whatever unfolds next depends just as much on real choices, real timing, real conversations, as it does on anything we uncover here today. And honestly, that uncertainty is a kind of freedom too. It means the outcome isn't fixed yet. It means there's still room for you to influence what happens next, simply by how you choose to show up. And here it is, the Hierophant. This is the card that finally explains why today, specifically, is the day everything comes to a head. Because she didn't just find out something once and stay angry in some vague, ongoing way. Something is pushing that anger toward a real decision right now, today, whether she says it out loud or not. Maybe it's a conversation happening around her. It's a memory resurfacing at exactly the wrong moment, or maybe it's simply everything she's been carrying finally reaching a point where feeling furious in the background isn't enough anymore. And she has to decide what she actually believes about you. The Hierophant isn't casual opinion, it's verdict. It's the internal rule book someone uses to measure right from wrong, loyalty from betrayal. When this reading says she faces judgment today, I mean that literally. Something is forcing her hand toward a conclusion, and that conclusion is forming right now, in real time, even if she hasn't spoken it to anyone yet. But here's what's easy to overlook. The rule book she's judging you by might not be built entirely from what happened between you two. If she's been hurt before by someone else in an earlier chapter of her life, part of this verdict could be borrowed from that old wound, not created fresh just for you. That distinction changes everything, because it means today's judgment isn't necessarily permanent truth. It's her truth, filtered through every past hurt she's already survived before this one. That's exactly why this reading is called All Returns. Judgment today doesn't mean the story ends today. It means a decision is finally forming, and unlike raw emotion, decisions can still shift when something unexpected returns to change the picture. But this is only the fourth card, Aquarius. There's still a long road ahead, still layers of this story waiting to be uncovered. Fifth card, Knight of Swords. This is the card that finally answers a question you've probably been asking since the title of this reading first caught your eye. Is her anger still growing, or has it already peaked? I think it just peaked. Here's why. Everything before this card felt like buildup. Silence, withdrawal, a verdict slowly forming in her mind. This card breaks that pattern completely. It doesn't build. It strikes. And that tells me the phrase in this title, the part about her hating you more today than before, that isn't describing a feeling that's still climbing. It's describing the moment it finally reached its peak and demanded action. So what does that action look like? Honestly, it could be something small on the outside but sharp on the inside. A message she almost didn't send, a comment dropped somewhere she knew you'd see it. Or maybe nothing outward at all yet, just a decision crystallizing hard and fast inside her, the kind that changes how she treats you starting today, even if she says nothing directly. I want you paying attention to because it's the real discovery in this card. Anger that arrives this fast usually isn't new anger. It's old anger finally given permission to move. Which means whatever surfaces today probably isn't really about the newest thing she found out. It's about everything she's been swallowing since this whole thing started, finally breaking through at once. That reframes the entire title for you. This isn't just her reacting to one discovery. It's accumulated frustration, choosing today specifically to stop staying quiet. Now here's what actually matters for what happens next. A move this fast rarely comes with full clarity behind it, which means today's version of her fury might not be her final position. It might just be the loudest one. So if today brings something sharp your way, a message, a silence that suddenly feels colder, a comment that stings more than expected, don't read it as the ending of this story. Read it as the moment the pressure finally broke. And that matters because pressure that's already released tends to leave room afterward for something quieter to return. Let's see what that quieter thing looks like, because the next card is where this story starts bending in a very different direction. Sixth card, Seven of Swords. Okay, Aquarius, this is where the story takes a turn nobody saw coming. Someone in this image is sneaking away with something. Not everything, just a piece of it, leaving the rest scattered behind like it didn't matter. That single detail changes how I read this entire situation. Because here's the real question this card throws at us. What if her anger isn't sitting on solid ground? What if somewhere in this whole mess, she grabbed only part of the story, the part that hurt the most, and walked off with it before anyone could hand her the rest? Think about that for a second. She's furious today. She hates you more today, but furious based on what exactly? The full picture or the fragment that fit the version of you she already feared was true. This card is basically whispering that there's a hole in her certainty, a missing piece she never collected. And missing pieces have a habit of surfacing eventually, usually at the moment someone least expects them to. So here's the tension building right now in this reading. If she's judging you off half a story, then today's fury isn't the final chapter. It's a chapter written with information still missing and what happens when the missing part finally finds its way back to her. And here's what makes this even more unsettling. Look at how carefully he's stepping away, quiet, calculated, almost too composed for someone supposedly walking away clean. That kind of composure usually hides something. Maybe she isn't the only one holding an incomplete version of events. Maybe someone else in this story shaped what she found out, framed it a certain way, handed her just enough truth to make the anger stick. If that's the case, Aquarius, then this isn't only about what she discovered, it's about who let her discover it that way and why. That thought alone should sit uncomfortably with you for a second, because it means today's judgment might not even belong entirely to her. Some of it may have been placed there, and that changes everything about what comes next. Because if part of this fury was built on borrowed information, then the return this reading keeps promising isn't just her softening. Next card. Four of Swords. Aquarius. After everything we just watched, that fast night charging through, that stolen fragment of truth slipping away, this card stops everything cold. She's not moving anymore. Not fighting. Not scheming. Not even actively burning with hate right now. And that silence should make you nervous, not relieved. What I think is really happening behind that stillness. This isn't peace. This is someone lying down inside their own exhaustion, forced there, because holding fury that hot for this long eventually breaks a person if they don't stop. She's not resting because she's okay. She's resting because she couldn't keep carrying that weight one more second. And that terrifies me a little, honestly, because stillness like this is unpredictable. It could mean she's finally softening, or it could mean she's gathering herself for something bigger. Grief does that sometimes. Anger does that sometimes. It goes quiet right before it changes shape completely. Here's the real tension building right now. Somewhere in that silence, that missing piece from the last card, the part of the story she never fully got, it's sitting right there in the dark with her, waiting. And we don't know yet if it surfaces as forgiveness or as something that reopens this wound even deeper. That's the uncertainty I need you to sit with for a second, because this reading isn't handing you comfort yet. It's handing you a pause right before something decisive. So ask yourself honestly, when someone this angry finally goes quiet, is that surrender? Or is that the moment right before everything shifts? We're not done. There's still more waiting behind this silence, and perhaps the next card will be where we find the direction it will lead us. Eighth card. King of Swords. All right, look at him honestly for a second. He's not angry, sad either. He's just sitting there with that sword pointed straight up, completely composed, like nothing about this decision requires raising his voice. That's rare in this reading, because everyone else we've pulled so far has been reacting to something, her fury, her exhaustion, her silence. Him, he's just deciding. Aquarius, I think that's exactly what's happening on her end right now, today, whether she realizes it consciously or not. The fire from a few cards ago, that fast, sharp reaction, it's not gone, but it's not steering anymore either. Something colder, more logical has taken the wheel. And that's actually more dangerous to her old anger than any apology you could send her, because logic doesn't protect a grudge the way hurt feelings do. Logic checks, receipts. Here's something I want to be honest about. This king doesn't automatically mean good news for you. Cold clarity can go either way. It can look at everything that happened and confirm, yes, she was right to be furious. This holds up. Or it can look at that same evidence and notice the gaps, the assumptions, the parts of the story she never actually confirmed, the piece she grabbed and ran with a few cards back without checking if it was complete. That's really the tension sitting inside this card, not whether she's calm now, she clearly is, but what she does with that calm. Think about it this way, anger keeps people from asking uncomfortable questions. Calm doesn't. Calm actually makes room for the question she's been avoiding this whole time, which is simply, did I get this right? So here's what today likely looks like for her, underneath the surface. Less yelling, less avoidance, more sitting with the facts, maybe even revisiting details she brushed past when she was too angry to look closely. I'm not telling you that guarantees she comes around. I'm telling you the version of her capable of reconsidering anything just walked into the room, and that wasn't true a few cards ago. And that distinction matters more than it sounds. A person who can't reconsider anything stays stuck, no matter what new information arrives. A person who can, even reluctantly, even slowly, leaves a door open that wasn't there before. So whatever the final card reveals next, it's no longer landing on someone closed off completely. It's landing on someone finally capable of hearing it. Okay, ninth card, 10 of Swords. Let's just sit with this image for a second before I say anything, because at first glance, this looks brutal. It looks like the absolute end. face down, 10 blades already planted, nothing left standing. Look again. The sun behind her isn't setting, it's rising. And that one detail changes how I read this entirely. 10 of Swords isn't really about an ongoing wound. It's about the moment a wound finally stops being able to get worse. It's the floor. The lowest point a story can reach before something has to shift, one way or another, which tells me that whatever version of her anger hit hardest, whatever the heaviest moment of this whole situation was, it's already happened. It's sitting behind this card now, not somewhere still waiting to happen. So here's what this actually tells us about today, Aquarius. That clearer, more rational judgment we saw forming in the last card, the one built from thinking instead of pure hurt, I think it reached some kind of conclusion here. And instead of adding one more grievance to the pile, one more reason to stay furious, it just stopped. There's nothing left to pile on. A story that's already hit its lowest point doesn't have anywhere left to fall. That matters a lot for this reading, because it means today isn't necessarily the coldest moment left in this story. It might actually be the last one this heavy. I won't pretend to know exactly when things shift for her, or what that shift looks like on the outside. That part isn't something I can promise you. But this card sitting where it does in the spread isn't leaving her buried in that anger forever. It's leaving her right at the edge of sunrise, at the exact point where something has to change next, because staying at the bottom isn't really an option anymore. So if today felt like the harshest version of her fury yet, I don't think that's where this story settles. I think it's the lowest point right before whatever's coming next in this reading starts pulling things back up. And we're not done yet. Let's see what actually shows up once the sun she's lying under finally reaches her. 10th card, the last one, Page of Wands. And Aquarius, out of every card we've pulled today, this is the one I did not expect to land here. At the very end, right after that sunrise moment from 10 of Swords. Because everything before this felt heavy, slow, internal. This card is none of that. This is spark, curiosity, something new trying to get someone's attention again. Here's what I think this actually confirms, tying back to everything we've walked through. Remember the Knight of Cups at the start, the one who approached all of this with heart first, sincerity first. This page feels like an echo of that same energy, except this time it's not charging in blind. It's holding that wand up like it's testing the wind first, curious, watching, not committing yet, just noticing something worth paying attention to again. If this really is her energy, or the energy around this situation right now, it tells me curiosity is creeping back in somewhere it wasn't a few cards ago. Not certainty, not forgiveness. Just enough interest to stop the story from staying completely frozen. Why that matters so much for the title of this reading. All returns doesn't have to mean a dramatic reunion, a big apology, a clean resolution wrapped up in one conversation. Sometimes return starts exactly this small, a flicker of curiosity, a question she didn't expect to ask herself, and small pull back towards something she thought she was done with. Think about the whole arc we just walked through together, her fury, her exhaustion, sudden sharp reaction, that missing piece of the story, mind finally clearing enough to question her own conclusions, hitting the lowest point that couldn't get any heavier. And now this. Something small, bright, and alive showing up right after the floor. That's not a coincidence in how these cards fell today. Here's something honest to close on. Not mystical, just real. This card isn't proof she's coming back to you tomorrow. It's proof the part of her capable of curiosity, capable of wondering, capable of reconsidering, is still there, awake, even after everything. Whatever happens next depends on real choices, real timing, real conversations, not just cards on a table. Aquarius, let's bring this all together because we covered a lot of ground today and I don't want the important parts getting lost in everything we just walked through. Here's what actually matters from this reading. You didn't enter this situation carelessly. The Knight of Cups made that clear right at the start. Whatever happened, it wasn't born from malice on your end. That matters, even if she can't see it clearly yet. Her anger, though, that's real too. The Four of Cups, the Eight of Swords, the Knight of Swords, all of it pointed to someone who got stuck, who shut down, who eventually reacted fast and sharp after holding too much for too long. That reaction wasn't really about one moment. It was everything she'd been carrying, finally breaking through. But here's the part I need you to really hold on to. The Seven of Swords told us something important, that she may not even be working with the full story. A missing piece, an incomplete version of events sitting somewhere underneath all that fury, and that changes how permanent today's judgment actually is. Because judgment, the real kind, the King of Swords kind, doesn't stay locked forever. It checks itself. It questions. And by the time we reached 10 of Swords, we weren't looking at an ending. We were looking at a floor, the lowest point, right before a sunrise. And that's exactly why this reading closes with the Page of Wands. Curiosity, a small spark returning, even after everything. Not proof she's back tomorrow. Just proof the door isn't sealed the way her silence made it feel. So here's my honest advice, not mystical, just real. Don't chase this right now. Don't try to explain, argue, or convince. Let whatever pressure built today finish releasing on its own. Clarity, when it comes, works better without you pushing it. And please remember, this reading is general guidance, meant for reflection, not a guarantee carved into your future. Energy is selective. It responds to what's true for you and lets go of what isn't. Take what resonated today and leave behind what didn't. Whatever happens next between you two, it depends on real choices, real timing, real conversations, not just what these cards revealed. If any part of this reading felt like it was speaking directly to you, drop the word returns down in the comments, or just tell me how you're really feeling right now. I read every single one.